Hello everybody, Plato here, and today we are going to be looking at soft caps for Elden Ring. A huge shout out to Ashura RC and Sleepless Sheeple as they provided a really in-depth Reddit post that I will be linking down below that has everything you would ever want to know about soft caps. This was a great tool as I'm very new to the Soul series and helped me out immensely when playing the game at an early, mid-game, and late-game scenario on what I wanted to do with my attribute points. Another shout out to GetCheddar, twitch.tv/GetCheddar and GetCheddarTTV on Reddit for providing this really nice cheat sheet that we will be referencing, and again, full links down below. So you may be asking, well, what is a soft cap? Well, a soft cap is going to be a value on an attribute when you start seeing diminishing returns. What this basically means is the more you level it after you hit the soft cap, the less points of value you are going to get out of that attribute. So at that point, it's better just to focus putting on additional points into another attribute for a well-balanced build. And to get started, let's go ahead and take a look at Vigor. Now, if we go ahead and take a look at our cheat sheet to the left, you can see that Vigor has two soft caps, one at level 40 and one at level 60. So let's take a look at the description that Ashura provides us. So Vigor gives us 25 HP per level at level 15 and keeps going up 1 or 2 HP every 2 or 3 levels, maxing out at 48 HP at level 40, and that is how we get our first soft cap, because from 40 to 60, it keeps decreasing from 26 to around 13 HP per level, and then that is where we hit our second soft cap. Now from this point forward, this is where we start seeing really bad diminishing returns. From 60 to 90, our gains are only 5 to 6 HP per level, and then from 90 to 99, only 3 to 4 HP per level. Now let's go ahead and take a look at a quick example. Now going from levels 50 to 60, you can see that we gain about 200 HP. However, going all the way from 60 to 99, you see that we also gain about 200 HP. So that is where you're going to start seeing really bad diminishing returns. Is anything above 60 is going to give you super bad diminishing returns. So this is where you want to stop on your Vigor and then focus on allocating your points elsewhere. Now, if you're in the mid game, I would say stop at the first soft cap around 40 and then allocate your points elsewhere. And if you have additional points that you want to put into Vigor, then you can start focusing more on Vigor. Now, this is going to apply to every other attribute we talk about, right? Mind, endurance, strength, dexterity, intelligence, faith, arcane. You don't want to be like, oh, there's a soft cap, I got to hit that soft cap. You want to evenly distribute your points depending on what build you're focusing on and what attribute you want to mainly focus on for that build. Right? For example, for an intelligence-focused build, you want to maybe put more points into intelligence rather than worrying about like the soft cap for Vigor, just as an example. That being said, let's go ahead and move on to Mind. If we take a look at our cheat sheet, Mind also has two soft caps at level 55 and level 60. Mind gives us 3 or 4 FP per level until level 20. Then from level 20 to 50, it gives us 6 FP per level. And then from level 50 to 55, it gives us 8 FP per level. And that is where we hit our first soft cap. Because afterwards, going from level 55 to 60 drops it all the way down from 7 to 4 FP per level. And then finally, from level 16 onwards is we start seeing those really bad diminishing returns, where we see about 2 or 3 FP per level. So we have our first soft cap at 55, then a second soft cap at 60. So similarly to Vigor, if we go ahead and take a look at Mind, you can see that from levels 50 to 60, we go all the way from 280 FP to 350 FP, which is an increase of 70. If we take a look at from 60 to 99, where 60 being our second soft cap, you start seeing those diminishing returns. Because again, for the next 39 levels, going from 60 to 99, we go from 300 FP to 400 FP, which is only a 100 increase in FP. And just like we said about Vigor, remember, don't focus on trying to hit your Mind soft caps. Allocate your points evenly for the build you are focusing on. I'm not going to repeat that part anymore moving forward with this video, but I just wanted to remind you guys that this is just a general tool. Don't be going and thinking, hey, I got to hit these soft caps because I want to hit these soft caps and then have like no points for, let's say, intelligence if you're working on an intelligence build. And this goes vice versa as well, right? If you're an intelligence heavy focused build, don't start dumping points into hitting that intelligence soft cap and then neglecting Vigor, Mind, endurance, and whatever attribute points that you're going to need for your build to succeed. Now moving forward to endurance, endurance actually has 3 soft caps breaked up into 2 categories. One being stamina and the other being equip load, because the more points you put into endurance, the higher stamina you get, and it also affects your equipment load. If we take a look at endurance, it gives us 1, 2, 1, 2 stamina from level 12 to 17. What this basically means that it alternates between 1 stamina, then 2 stamina, then 1 stamina, then 2 stamina per the levels, right? So like for level 12, it gives you 1, then for 13, it gives you 2, and so on and so forth. From levels 18 to 32, it gives us 2, 1, 2 stamina, and then from 32 to 50, it gives us 1, 2, 1 stamina again. And then after 50, when we hit our soft cap, is when we start seeing those diminishing returns, as we only get about 1 point of stamina all the way up until level 99. So similarly to Mind and Vigor, if we take a look at level 40 to 50 this time, just because our soft cap is 50 for endurance, you see that we get a whopping 15 points in stamina. But if we take a look at levels 50 all the way to 99, so for 49 levels, we see that we also get, surprise, surprise, 15 points of level into our stamina. So no point in putting any more points than 50 if you're focusing on a very heavy stamina focused build, as those diminishing returns are really, really bad. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at equipment load, because equipment load is a little bit more interesting. So we have 2 soft caps for equipment load, one at 25 and one at 60, right? But if you take a look here, if we take a look at from level 50 to 60, you see that we get an equipment load of 15 for those 10 levels, right? But unsimilarly, if that's even a word, to all of our other examples, if we go all the way from 60 to 99, we see that we're getting another 40 points into equipment load. So why is the soft cap at 60? Well, Arusha explains this very well and in depth for the equipment load part here. So we're going to read word by word, and then I'll explain what this means. So for equipment load, it increases 1.6 per level until level 25, which is our first soft cap. And we want to focus on the per level right here, the per level value, and this is how we're getting our soft cap values, all right? Not per, 10 levels, but per level. So at level 26, it increases by 1 equipment load, followed by 1.1 equipment load at levels 27 and 28, 1.2 at levels 29 and 30, and then from 31 to 36 and level 38, it'll increase by 1.3. And from level 37 and from level 39 all the way to 54, it'll increase by 1.4 per level. Then from levels 55 to 60, it'll increase by 1.5 equipment load, which is our second soft cap. And then this is when we start seeing diminishing returns for equipment load per level. Because at level 61, we see a 1 equipment load increase. And then all the way from 62 to 99, we see an increase of 1.1 to 1 to 1 to 1 equipment load every 4 levels. So that is how we're reaching the soft cap value for equipment load, not in 10 level increments, but the value of equipment load we are getting per level. As you can see, you start getting those diminishing returns starting from level 60. I hope that made sense. If that didn't make sense, let me know in the comments and maybe I can try to be more sensier. I'm sure that didn't make much sense. Now I'm just rambling. But to finish my rambling, if you were to ask me what I would recommend for pretty much all builds as far as a good point for endurance, until you have more points to allocate into endurance as you see fit, would be our first soft cap for equipment load at 25, because it provides a nice balance for both stamina and equipment load in my opinion. Maybe you can bump it all the way to 30 if you want to focus a little bit more on the stamina side of things. But that's just my opinion being an Elden Ring noob. If anybody wants to correct me at a better stopping point for endurance, just let me know at the comments down below. All right, now we're going to go ahead and take a look at our soft caps for strength, dexterity, intelligence, faith, and arcane. And the data sheet for all of this is provided by Sleepless. Now taking a look at strength, we have soft caps at 20, 55, and 80. Quick thing to note about strength is that when you two-hand weapons, it'll multiply the effective strength by 1.5. This counts for both equip requirements and damage scaling. However, he also goes to mention that unlike previous Souls games, the damage scaling continues past 99 effective strength, which is pretty interesting. However, you'll see here that anything past 80 has pretty poor diminishing returns. So for our first soft cap at 20, we have that there because of a whopping 46 bonus attack power going from levels 15 to 20. And then you'll start seeing diminishing returns from levels 20 all the way to 55. And then that is when we're going to hit our second soft cap. And then you're going to start seeing more diminishing returns all the way from levels 55 to 80. And that'll be our final soft cap, our third and final soft cap at 80. And then after that, as you can see from this graph, you're just going to start seeing even more poor diminishing returns where it's only going up about 6, 7, then 6, then 5 points per attack power every 5 levels. Moving on to dexterity, you can see that we have identical soft caps at 20, 55, and 80. One thing to note about dexterity is for lightning, the soft caps are slightly different at 20, 50, and 80, referenced by the table to the right. focusing just on regular dexterity, you can see that our first soft cap at 20 is because we get a whopping 31 attack power going from 15 to 20. And then going from levels 20 to 55, where we hit our second soft cap, you can see that the diminishing returns are a little bit more. And then going from levels 55 to 80 to hit our final soft cap, you can see that those diminishing returns are even more so. However, similarly to strength, it becomes extremely poor after level 80. Moving forward, let's take a look at intelligence. As you can see, intelligence has two types of scaling, one for attack rating, aka attack power, and the other for your sorcery scaling. Now, before we continue, Sleepless notes that there are two forms of scaling for staffs, right? Front-loaded and back-loaded. So back-loaded staves include Crystal Staff, Karen Regal Scepter, Prince of Death Staff, Azura's Glintstone Staff. Note that the Prince of Death Staff is a hybrid. Lusat's Glintstone Staff, Rotten Crystal Staff, and the Staff of Loss. So now you may be asking yourself, well, what is attack rating and how does it differ from sorcery scaling? Well, attack rating is going to be how much damage your weapon physically does. That scales with intelligence, similarly to strength and dexterity. And then sorcery scaling is going to be how much damage your spells do. So if we take a look at attack rating first, you can see that our first soft cap is going to be at level 20, where from levels 10, 15, and 20, you're getting 21 and 22 respectively per 5 levels. And then if we take a look at our second soft cap at level 50, you can see that it has a bit more diminishing returns, averaging about 13 to 14 per 5 levels. And then from 50 to 80, you're going to start seeing actually some pretty darn overwhelming diminishing returns here, on an average about 5 attack power per level. And then from 80 and forward, just like with strength and dexterity, it really is pretty poor. However, if we look at the sorcery scaling side of things for your spell damage, this is where things actually get a little bit more interesting. So all the way up until level 60 from level 10, you're actually going to be averaging about 15 to 17 per 5 levels, which is actually really nice. 60 would be a really good stopping point for intelligence. If you're going pure intelligence, if you want to allocate your points to other stats like Vigor and Mind. However, there are some spells that you would probably want to use that has slightly higher requirements than 60. But if you have those additional points, feel free to go all the way up to the second soft cap for sorcery scaling, which is going to be at 80, where from 60 to 80, you're getting about 9 to 10 per 5 levels. And then similarly, just like with strength dexterity, anything past 80, you're getting those really big diminishing returns. Moving ahead to Faith, we see that it has identical soft caps in both attack rating and incantation scaling to intelligence. 20, 50, 80 for attack rating, and then 60 and 80 for the incantation scaling. One thing to note, there is only one backloaded seal here, and that is going to be the Erdtree seal. And remember, for backloaded seals, it is recommended to hit that 60 and 80 soft cap for the incantation scaling. Now, taking a look at our attack rating soft caps, we see that our first soft cap is going to be at 20, because from level 10, 15, and 20, we get that 21 attack power per 5 levels. Then moving to our second soft cap at 50, we can see that we're getting slightly less at about, on average, 13 per 5 levels. And then if we go to our third soft cap, 50 to 80, you see those diminishing returns being affected here, averaging about 5 per level. And then anything past 80 is pretty poor. Now, taking a look at the incantation scaling, which is going to be very similar to sorcery scaling, up until level 60, we have damn good value here, on average about 15, 16, and 17 per 5 levels. And then similarly to intelligence, it slows down from 60 to 80, where we hit our second soft cap, averaging about 9 to 10 per 5 levels. And then similarly again to intelligence, we have poor scaling, anything above 80 for incantations as well. Last but not least, we have Arcane, which once again has very similar scaling for its soft caps for attack rating. And then for the incantation scaling, you see that it is a little bit less, and we'll get to the incantation scaling part here in just a bit, because that focuses on hybrid. Now, before we get into Arcane in a little bit more detail, I did want to note that we are not going to be focusing on the soft caps for bleed and poison buildup, which is at 45 and 60. For that, go ahead and take a look at the table yourself, and I'll also be linking another Reddit link made by Sleepless that goes into a little bit more detail. But to not spend too much time on it, only poison and bleed scale with Arcane, and only on weapons that have Arcane scaling on them, whether that's innate or added by occult, blood, and poison infusions. Other status effects do not benefit from Arcane. But backtracking, let's go ahead and take a look at the attack ratings for Arcane for those three soft caps at 20, 50, and 80. So looking at our first soft cap at 20, we can see that per 5 levels we're getting anywhere from 30 to 32. And then after we hit our first soft cap, going to our second soft cap from 20 to 50, you can see that we're averaging a little bit less at around 15 per 5 levels. And then when we get to our third and final soft cap from 50 to 80, you can see that we're averaging about 12 per 5 levels. And then similarly to Intelligence and Faith, anything past 80 is no go. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the incantation scaling for Arcane, which focuses on hybrid catalysts with the soft caps of 30 and 45. For staffs, this includes the Albinaric Staff, the Gelmere Glintstone Staff, and for the seals, this will include the Dragon Communion Seal, the Golden Order Seal, the Clawmark Seal, and the Frenzied Flame Seal. To focus on our first soft cap of level 30, you can see that it starts building up after level 15, and per 5 levels, we're getting about 34 and 33. Once we hit that first soft cap, we see that from levels 30 to 45, we start seeing those diminishing returns, and we're only getting on average 15 per level. And then past 45, we really start seeing how bad those diminishing returns are, as it is very poor. I hope this entire video was helpful for you guys. I hope you learned a lot. I know it was very helpful for me in my Elden Ring journey. And as usual, thank you so much for stopping by. If you want to catch me on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/PlatoBear. And if I made any mistakes, let me know in the comments below. Always looking to improve. And until the next one, see you later.